The salt spray of the Atlantic, the rumble of the Staten Island ferry, the echoing silence that followed a life abruptly cut short. These are the unsettling ingredients of an unsolved tragedy that continues to haunt the New York City borough even today. In 1996, a vibrant life was extinguished, leaving behind unanswered questions and a community grappling with grief and the chilling reality that a killer walked free. This is the story of Susan Dalton, a woman whose final moments were tragically ordinary and whose unsolved murder remains a testament to the enduring power of unanswered questions. Susan Dalton was, by all accounts, a woman woven into the fabric of Staten Island life. She was a friend, a daughter, a neighbor, and a companion to her beloved dogs, creatures who clearly adored her. Details about her life paint a picture of a woman who found joy in the everyday. She lived in a modest home, the kind of place where the aroma of freshly baked bread and the comforting glow of the television often filled the air. Her life was not one of glamour or overt drama. Rather, it was a tapestry of ordinary routines and quiet contentment. She was a woman who ironed her clothes, watched TV, and cherished the simple companionship of her canine friends. It was precisely in the midst of one such ordinary moment that her life was stolen. The exact details of Susan Dalton's life are somewhat faded by the passage of time, but the bare facts, the outline of a life, are poignant enough to allow us to begin to paint a picture of Susan. She was 37 years old when she was murdered. She lived in a home on Staten Island, a house that would become the scene of a crime that shook the community. The specific street and neighborhood are lost to the annals of time, but the impact of her death, the grief of those who knew her, and the haunting mystery of what happened in that house in 1996 remain vividly, painfully clear. While we may not know the exact address, we can envision the typical Staten Island neighborhood of the mid-90s, tree-lined streets, well-kept lawns, a sense of quiet suburban existence that made the intrusion of violence all the more jarring. The exact timeline of events that fateful day, or evening, is shrouded in mystery. We know it was a day like any other, perhaps a weekday afternoon. The details gleaned from the crime scene offer only tantalizing hints. The discovery of her body came not from an eyewitness, but from the unsettling tableau left behind. When investigators arrived, they were faced with a scene of unsettling normalcy, punctuated by one horrifying anomaly. Susan was dead. The home itself, a place of comfort and routine, had been violated in the most brutal way imaginable. The scene itself whispered of a life disrupted. The television was on, its images flickering silently across the screen, a stark contrast to the stillness of the room. The iron sat hot, a stark reminder of the everyday task she'd been performing, frozen in time. And her beloved dogs, loyal companions, remained, perhaps confused, perhaps sensing the tragedy that had befallen their owner. Their presence was a detail that cut through the sterile coldness of the crime scene, a reminder that Susan was a woman whose life revolved around companionship and love. This scene was not a random act of violence, but something more personal. Investigators meticulously documented every detail, the slight disarray that suggested a struggle, the absence of forced entry that pointed to someone Susan might have known or trusted. Detectives began to explore every possibility. They canvassed the neighborhood, hoping to find a witness who might have seen something, a car out of place, a stranger lingering. They interviewed family and friends, delving into Susan's personal life, searching for any clues that might shed light on her killer. Did she have any enemies? Was she involved in a relationship that could have turned violent? Did she have any secrets that could explain the murder? The questions hung heavy in the air, each one a potential key to unlocking the truth. They sought to understand Susan not just as a victim, but as a living, breathing person with connections and relationships that might have led to her demise. Friends described her as kind, dependable, perhaps a little reserved, but always willing to lend an ear. Her family, devastated by the loss, provided what insights they could into her daily life and any recent changes or concerns. The case file was filled with leads that went cold. Interviews with potential suspects yielded no breakthroughs. Despite their best efforts, the investigators hit dead ends. The initial surge of hope that the case would be solved slowly dwindled, replaced by the frustrating reality that the killer was still at large. As the months turned into years, the case grew colder, but the pain of the loss, the unanswered questions, the dedicated detectives assigned to her case, driven by a sense of duty and a desire for justice, pored over every piece of evidence, revisited every witness, and chased down every whisper of a lead, only to find themselves standing at the same impenetrable wall. The absence of closure is a constant weight, a source of enduring pain for those who loved Susan. Her family, forever marked by the tragedy, struggles with the knowledge that her killer has never been held accountable. Each anniversary of her death serves as a painful reminder of the injustice, the unanswered questions, and the lost potential of a life cut short. The absence of justice has a chilling effect on a community, a lingering fear that the perpetrator could still be among them. The weight of this unresolved trauma is immeasurable, a shadow that falls over holidays, birthdays, and the simple passage of time. The case of Susan Dalton underscores the profound and lasting impact of unsolved crime on the lives of victims' families and the broader community. It exposes the lingering trauma, the emotional turmoil, and the feeling of vulnerability that remain after such a tragedy. For Susan's loved ones, the grief is compounded by the knowledge that her killer walks free, a reality that robs them of peace and fuels a sense of injustice that time does little to heal. The void left by Susan's absence is a constant ache, a testament to the life that was stolen and the future that will never be realized. The unanswered questions surrounding Susan's murder continue to fuel speculation, rumors, and a deep sense of unease on Staten Island. The fact that her killer remains at large has a chilling effect on the community, fostering distrust and a sense of vulnerability that lingers long after the crime scene is cleared. The case is a reminder that evil sometimes prevails, and that the pursuit of justice can be a long and arduous journey. The resilience of the Staten Island community is undeniable, yet the scar of this unsolved mystery remains, a cautionary tale whispered through generations. In the silence of the unsolved, we can only imagine what Susan's final moments were like. We can picture the flickering TV screen, the iron cooling, the concerned glances of her beloved dogs. These details, though mundane, create a powerful sense of loss, the tragedy that struck on Staten Island in 1996, a reminder of the fragility of life and the enduring power of unanswered questions. The quiet dignity of her last ordinary moments stands in stark contrast to the brutal finality of her death, a duality that amplifies the tragedy. The unresolved nature of the case of Susan Dalton serves as a poignant reminder of the limits of justice. Despite the best efforts of investigators, the killer has never been brought to account, and the mystery of her death persists. In an era of forensic advancements and sophisticated investigative techniques, it is a stark demonstration that some crimes remain impervious to time. The tireless work of law enforcement, the dedication of investigators, all ultimately came up against an invisible barrier, a wall of silence and unanswered questions that continues to perplex and grieve. The case of Susan Dalton speaks to a fundamental human need for closure. The fact that her killer has never been apprehended, her murder remains unsolved, is not only a disservice to her memory, but also a profound wound to her family and the community that knew and loved her. Their sense of loss is compounded by the absence of justice, the knowledge that the person responsible for this heinous act remains free. It is a wound that festers, a reminder of the precariousness of life and the ever-present possibility of the unthinkable. Even though it's been many years since Susan Dalton's murder, the story continues to be told. The unanswered questions remain. The chilling reality of an unsolved murder, committed so many years ago, still resonates with those who knew and loved her. The case highlights not only the tragedy of Susan's death, but the enduring impact of unresolved crime on families, communities, and the very fabric of society. Her case remains a testament to the resilience of the human spirit, as well as a stark reminder that justice is never guaranteed, and the pursuit of truth can be a long and difficult path. The hope, however faint, that one day her killer will be brought to justice persists for her loved ones and for all who believe in the fundamental right to peace and accountability.